Hi everyone, Salesforce Development Day 29. Let's see what we are going to learn today. We'll quickly go through the previous session overview and we'll talk about the limit, how to use the limit in SOCL, and where class in non-parameterized, where class in parameterized procedure, and all the rows or classes, how to use all the row classes and order by offset class per update class. These are the one which we are going to see today. And what did we learn in last session? What did we learn in last session?
Static query, dynamic query.
Static, dynamic. And in the static, what are the examples that we have seen?
Retrieving contact information, data.
Right. So yesterday, the last thing which we have implemented is, let me connect org. What was the class that we have implemented last time? Let's open the developer console. The last class which we have written, static dynamic SOCL. Right, so we have created the for loop and then we have printing the all the values. This is one. And have you guys done with the dynamic implementation this one? Have you guys done with the dynamic? How can we implement a dynamic SOCL query? Anybody has completed the dynamic SOCL for this? Okay, how about offline? Other members? Okay. Now, one more scenario which we have discussed about the storing the details into map, right? So whatever we are pulling the data from the, what are the data we are pulling from the database, we stored into the list. From the list, we are storing the data into the map, right? So map of ID, comma, value. So what was the class name that we have implemented yesterday? What was the class that we have implemented yesterday? Yesterday we have done two classes, 08 and 08. Let's go to the developer console. Okay, so that's fine. Let me implement a new class, new Apex class. Let's say it is a circle in map. Circle in map. Now here I'm going to implement on the class level. At the rate description and author, created date, description is this class used for storing the circle result in map. Right, author, created date, you can add it. And similarly, I'm going to implement a method public static void, let's say get all cases, get all cases. Now here what we are doing is we are storing the data inside the map. Now first I'll initialize the map of ID comma case. Now this is the case map equal to new map of ID comma case. Map of ID comma case. Now what we can do, we can query the data. Directly I can write the query case CS colon. Here I'm directly writing the query, select ID comma status from case. Right? So within this, what we are doing is whatever this case map is there. This case map, inside this case map dot put, we are going to add a cs.id comma cs. cs.id comma cs. Right? So we are placing the ID and cs complete record inside the map. So first we are getting the records and storing the records into the map. This is first way of implementation. This is method 1. In case if you want to implement both together, method 2. Method 2 is in case if the few developers, what few developer does is they will combine these all things. They will combine all these things. How they are going to combine it? Let's say map of ID comma case, map of ID comma case, let's say case map 1 equal to new map of ID comma case. Then within the bracket, so this is the within the bracket, what I'll do is I'll write a circle query. I'll write a circle query. Now, either you can implement declaring it map first and then doing looping through the for loop and storing the data into the case map, or else the method 2 is you can directly, while initializing the map, within the bracket, you can pass the query. You can pass the query. So both will give the result. You will have a result in both the scenario. So if you print system.debug case map, I'm printing the case maps. This is for loop output. And then we have it. And then we have a system.debug. In the system.debug, this is the single case map 1. Single case map 1. So let me execute this method. Debug, open, execute. In order to execute, circle in map dot method name. Now let's highlight this, execute the highlighted one. Click on the debug. Now we have it, both will be giving the output. For loop is giving the output as well as the storing everything in the directly to the map, also giving the output, right? So method one is few developers will write a logic like this. Few developers, what they will do is directly they will place it inside the map. Directly they will place it inside the map. Here what we are doing it here, the first step is I'm initializing it. Initializing the map and then looping through the SOQL query. Loop through SOQL query. And then pushing the data into the map. Pushing the data into the map. Right? So these are the three steps. Now here those three steps will be combined into the single step and we can store directly into the map. Can store directly into the map. Now in case if you want to loop through the map, you can loop through the map. For example, if you want to loop through this map and print the value of the each record, now what you can do is, how you are going to loop through this map will have a ID and value. Let's assume that I want to loop through the case. Now, what I'll be taking here, case map one dot. So what I need to do is I need to loop through this case map one and print each record. So how can I get the case records from the case map one? How can I get the, from the map, I wanted to get the case records. How will I get the case records from the map?
Case map one dot values.
Case map one dot values. Because inside the values, I have a each record. So here key is a ID. This is key. Now I do not want a key. But what is the value? Value is stored as a case. Value is stored as a case. Now what I'll do is I'll take a case map one dot values. Dot values. Now I'll loop through these values. I'll loop through the values and then I'm going to print the values here. System dot debug. I'll say that this is the case record details. Case record details plus CS. Now let's save this. Debug, execute the highlighted one. Right. It is printing the each record of the ID and then it is printing the values. Right. Now, in case if you want the condition, in case if you want, so this is what we have seen, map of ID comma case map equal to new map of ID comma case. What are the different ways to invoke a SOQL query in Apex?
Static and dynamic.
Okay. Syntax for static SOQL.
Select field API name from object name.
Right. Syntax for dynamic SOQL query. Right. So we need to pass the details in the string. In the string, we have to pass whatever the object is there, object or a field's name, we have to pass it in the string. That string, we need to pass it into the database.query. Now, limit classes. So basically, limit classes is nothing but, let's assume that here I'm querying the data, which is n number of data we are querying it, right? So we don't know whatever the records are available, all the records it is going to pull in the whatever the logic that we are executing, all the logic will be get executed. But in the real time, we will not do like this. We never query the record for this complete list. We will query the record only based on either we will put a where condition or we will add a limit. Now in Salesforce, right now the case records are, let's go to the case. So we have a cases. So right now in the Salesforce, I have so many cases are there. Let's say all closed cases are around 22. Open cases are 15. So total 35 cases are there. So everything it is going to print the value. But what I need is, I just need the information. I just needed 2 records. I just needed 2 records. Or I just need a 1 record. In that case, what we will do is, we will add a limit to limit 2. I'll just add a limit 2. Now here, click on a debug and execute the highlighted one. Debug. How many records it is printing? Only 2 records. Only 2 records. So limit class is, the class is used to restrict the number of records to get returned by the socle point. This class is used to restrict the number of records to get returned by the socle query. That means the syntax is limit integer. Only integer you have to provide. You cannot provide the string. That means example, limit 1 record, limit 5 records, limit 50 records. You need to specify some number after the limit. So the use case is, write an Apex program to fetch only 10 account records from the object. So for example, let's say here in the socle query, I'm going to write. So the scenario is, I need to pull the account records. I need to pull the account records. Select ID comma name from account limit 10. Limit 10. Execute this. Now I'm going to get the 10 records. I'm going to get the 10 records. Homework for the limit class is, write an Apex program to fetch only 1 user record from the object. Only 1 user record from the object. And another homework is, write an Apex program to fetch 10 lead records from the object. So you need to write a Apex program. Right? So write the Apex program to fetch the user records. And the second one is to fetch 10 lead records. User records are only 1 record you need to fetch it. Lead records are you need to fetch the 10 records. And print those records line by line. That means first record, then second record, and then third record. Total 10 lines you have to print it for the lead. For user, you have to print it 1 record. Take a notes of it. Done? Is it completed? Okay. So let's go on questions. When do we use the limit class?
When we want to limit the number of records to display.
Right? Syntax for limit class. Limit and then number you need to specify. So where class. Now where class, which we have seen yesterday. So where class is, this class is used to add one or more user defined conditions along with the SOQL query. That means if you want to apply the filter, when you are querying the SOQL query, if you want to apply any filter, then we will use the where condition. So the syntax is SOQL query, and then we will add a where condition, right? So where field name, whatever the operator is there, you need to specify the operator and the value. So example for where condition is where rating equal to hot or industry equal to banking or annual revenue is greater than 20 lakhs, 25 lakhs, or where location equal to Pune or where email not equal to null. So that means where condition you will be adding it after the object name. You can specify the where, and let's say here this is the industry equal to, I'm going to specify the banking. And then I'll specify the limit. That means what I'm trying to explain here is provide me 10 records that has a industry equal to banking. That has industry equal to banking. Now click on execute. If there are no 10 records, it will provide whatever the records are there. Below 10, how many ever records are there, it is going to provide. So total we have a 9 records. So it is printing the 9 records where the industry equal to banking. Where the industry equal to banking. Right. So for example, if I go to the class, SOQL in map. Now let's say here I'm going to implement another method. Public static void, and I'm going to specify this is pull the account records or get banking accounts. Get banking accounts. Now here what we are going to do is I'm going to get the list of the account records, right? Or else I can directly write in the for loop. So let's go ahead and write it inside the for loop for account ACC, and then within the for loop, then I'm going to specify select ID, comma, name, comma, industry from account where industry equal to banking, right? So this is, I'm going to loop through this and system.debug. Let's say account record Then we will specify the plus acc dot id. acc dot id, I'm going to print it. Now let's save this record. Now let's execute this. Debug, open, execute. Now this time I have this is the method name and the class name is socle in map dot, whatever the method name is there, that is the method name. Get banking accounts, execute the highlighted one. Now debug, it is going to provide 9 records. 9 records it is provided. Now let's assume that here I'm hard coding it. Here I'm hard coding it. That means I'm not passing any value. I'm not passing any value. That means this is a non-parameterized. This method is non-parameterized method. So non-parameterized method is nothing but where you need to declare the condition directly inside the method. That means you cannot pass any value to this while executing it while runtime. You cannot pass it. If you try to pass here, what will happen? It will say that this method is not available. If I try to pass this value to this non-parameterized method, it says that this method is not available or method does not exist. So whenever you do not have any parameters expected, you should not be providing anything here. Right? Whereas if it is a parameterized, so what you will do is you have to, for example, you will say here string, right? String, and then you will say that ACC industry. ACC industry. Now you are going to pass that ACC industry to here. ACC industry to here. Now if I want to pass the ACC to industry here, now as I have explained yesterday, now if I pass directly this ACC industry, now what will happen if I try to execute this? It will throw an error. This is the static socle query. This is static socle query. In static socle query, how can I pass the dynamic value? In static socle query, how can I pass the value from outside? Now I need to pass the value from outside. If it is a dynamic, we can put that into the string. We can place it into the string. But if it is a static and I wanted to pass the value from the outside, because where condition is passed from the outside. If I have to pass it from the outside, how can I pass the details? How can I pass the information from outside? In the method, we will pass the information. For the static, what we will do is we will add a colon. For static, we will add a colon. Colon ACC industry. So this equal to colon ACC industry. What we'll do is gets converted into the industry equal to banking. Whatever the string we are passing it, that will be converted into the string. Static, we will pass the where industry equal to colon ACC industry. ACC industry. Industry equal to ACC industry. If I have to pass the value from outside, we have to use the colon. Without passing the colon, you cannot say here. Now, if I try to save, it will throw an error saying that ACC industry is not available. We don't know what is that value. Expecting the colon found in ACC industry. Right? You need to add a colon here. Click on save. This is for the parameterized procedure for the static. Now, if I try to execute this method, debug, and I'm going to pass this because it is expecting the variable. Let's execute it. It has taken the value and printing the records. 9 records, it is printing the value. That means during the runtime, whatever we are passing the value to the static, what we can do is we can change. This is only for where condition. This is only for where condition. If you know that where condition is, it gets changed every time. Usually in the real time, it does not happen this way, right? So if we have this where condition is changing or the circle is changing, then mostly we will go for the dynamic circle. Mostly we will go for a dynamic circle. We build a circle query and place it into the string, and we will pass that string to the database.get database.query. This is for the non-par. This is for parameterized. If it is a non-parameterized, directly we will declare it here. Right? This is the equal to. This is equal to. Let's assume that if I have a more than one value, if I have more than one value, let's say that I have a, let's assume industry equal to banking, industry equal to insurance. So right now what is happened here is I have just taken the where condition, select ID comma name from account where industry equal to banking. Right? So now this banking word, I'm passing it from outside. I am passing it single value string ACC industry equal to banking. I'm passing this as a banking. When I pass this value, what we are doing is we are converting this into the colon ACC industry, colon ACC industry. Instead of hard coding it, I'm passing the value. This is for the single value. Let's assume that I have a scenario where select ID name from the account where industry equal to banking or industry equal to insurance, industry equal to insurance or industry equal to technology. I have a multiple values here or industry equal to, let's say, finance. Okay. So I have a multiple values. That means I need to check industry equal to whether it is a banking or a insurance or a technology or a finance, then only pull the data, right? So multiple values I need to check in the where condition. When we want to check the multiple condition, if I wanted to store these text values inside the variable, which data type will I go for it? Which data type will I go for it? If I wanted to store the multiple values, now here it is a single value it is stored. Now I wanted to store the multiple values.
Array.
So we will go for list of, what is the data type?
String.
String. So string, I'll say here ACC industries equal to, I'm going to store the value within this. I'm going to store the value within this. Like, let's say here I'm going to store new list of string, and then I can store here banking, insurance, technology, finance. banking, insurance, technology. Now, I'm going to store the values in the list. Now, this list, I need to pass it to the SOQL query. This list, I need to pass it to the SOQL query. If I want to pass it to the SOQL query, how do I pass it? Now, how do I pass this value? Industry, will the equal to colon ACC industry, will it work or not? Equal to is basically, it is exact value it is checking. Equal to means exact value it is checking. But I wanted to check any of this industry is matching in the record, pull me those records. Pull me those records. So instead of equal to, what we will do is we will check the in condition. We will check in condition. That means in any of these values are matching, get the data. Any of these values are matching, get the data. Equal to is when I have a single value, and if you want to match exact value, then we will use equal to colon. Then we will use equal to colon. If it is a multiple values that I have, and I wanted to query industry, could be a banking industry, could be a insurance industry, could be a technology industry, could be a finance. In that case, what we will do is we will say in colon, whatever the industries are there, all the account industries, all the account industries, right? So in operator, so in operator is used to compare a field value, compare the field value with collection of elements, with collection of elements at a time, at a time by using the where class. By using the where class. And the syntax for this where, so you need to specify the field name in, then we have to specify the values. We have to specify the values. Whatever the values are there, we need to specify in colon. In colon, and the values you need to specify. If you are passing the values from the outside, it has to be a colon. If you are not passing the value from outside, colon is not required. And whatever this in operator is there, whatever the in operator is there, in operator should be always used along with the where class. Used along with where class. Take a notes of it.
Ma'am, can you explain the situation where we don't have to use the colon after in? You said like whenever we are using the outside. So what is outside means?
So when you are passing the values from the outside during the runtime, if you are passing the values to the method. Now I'll show you one example. Take a notes of it. Then taking the notes. Then now let's go for it. Now let me open the developer console. Now here, let's assume that in the query editor, when I say equal to banking, now I'm hard coding the value banking, right? Now if I execute it in the query editor, it is giving me the banking information. Let's assume that I have a multiple industry values. Let's check what are the industries are there. So I have a engineering, energy, so many things are there. So what I'll do, where industry equal to banking, also give me the details which are related to the energy, also which are related to the consulting, Now if I try to execute this, what will happen? It will throw an error. Because this operator, whatever this operator is there, this operator does not work. Because I am checking the multiple conditions. When we have multiple conditions, you need to use the in. And then within the bracket, you need to specify the values. Now, if I try to execute it, now it is going to give me the total 14 records, which has the energy, banking, consulting. Here, I'm hard coding the value. In case I have a method, in case I have implemented a method. Now, let's take another method here. Public static void. Let's say get industries. And I'm going to expect the list of string industries from outside. Outside means from the, whenever this method is getting executed, during that method execution, we will be passing the industries. What is the industries that we are going to execute? Now here I'll say this. I'll store the for loop. Let me write a for loop account ACC colon. Now within this, I'm going to specify the SOCL query. But instead of providing the direct hard-coded value, what I'll do is, here I'm going to pass the values. Here I'm going to pass the values. What is the values? Industries I'm going to pass it. When I pass the industries here, it is going to give me the error. It is going to give me the error saying that industries, we don't know what is the industries here. We don't know what is the industries. Now, if I say here colon industries, that means there is a multiple values that are passed by the outside of this method while executing it. So it will take the industries, then you need to specify the in colon. In operator and colon. When you say in operator colon means you are passing the variable or you are passing the list of the string or attribute you are passing it. When you are passing the variables to the SOCL query, then you need to specify in colon. When you say in colon, I'm going to print system.debug industry records. Industry records plus ACC dot industry. Instead of industry, I'll say complete ACC record, I'll print it. Now, done. Now, what I'll do is list of industries, I'll be passing to this. Now, how can I execute this debug? Let's build this list of string industries equal to new list of string. Now here I'm going to specify the values. What are the values we are going to specify? Let's say here, I'm going to specify the banking, consulting, energy. These three values I'm passing. These three values I'm passing. Now in the SOCL map, method name is get industries. Get industries. For get industries, the parameter is expected. What is the parameter? This is the parameter is expected. Now I'll execute this. It is going to print me the 14 records. So when you have a hard-coded values, you need not to add a colon. But if you are passing the variable instead of the values, if you are passing the variable from the outside of method, possible that this method is called from this method, right? Whatever the get banking is there. Now get banking industry is called by another method. Let's say that this method is calling. Right, this method is calling the get industries. When this method is called, this method might be initializing the list of the banking. Right, so here I'm going to pass get industries, pass the industries values. Get industries. I have a get banking method. Get banking method is a one method. This is one method and there is a second method is there. This is the second method. When I execute the first method, it will execute line by line per loop, execute the industries, whatever the industry banking is there, it will execute it. Once it is done, then it will call the second method. Whenever it comes to the cursor comes to here, it will jump onto the method and it will pass the industries. It will pass industries and the variable name you can keep it any name. You can change these industries or different value, need not to be the same parameter name. You can use the any value there. Now you pass it, then the cursor gets start executing the second method. Now let's say that, let me save this record. Debug, open, execute. Now I'm going to execute the get banking account. Which method I'm executing it? I'm executing the get banking account. This is the one which I'm executing it. This is the one executing it. So what will happen if I execute this? It will execute this method and also it will execute the next method. Also, it will execute the next method. Now here, let me execute this. Click on debug. Now this is 27th line. So 27th line is this one. Get banking account ACC ID. Get banking account ACC ID, and then it is going to execute the 35 line. So in the 35 line, we have a industry records. Industry records. So that is the two methods gets executed here. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I have also one doubt. So, in code, can you go to developer console? So generally we add plus sign ahead of the variable. Suppose if we see on line number 35, before ACC we have added plus sign. But on line number 34, we haven't added plus sign before the industries. Why it is not required in that case?
Here you are saying?
Yes.
Okay, so this place is only for the system.debug concatenation. Concatenation is nothing but industry records account. After that, immediately print the ACC record.
Okay.
It's a concatenation. If you do not add a place in the system.debug, now it will give an error. So here there is a comment you are adding, string you are adding. Then you are adding the variable. System cannot understand. So you have a two things here. In the single debug, you have a string and you have a variable. You need to combine the string with the variable. So in order to concatenate, you need to use the plus.
Okay, got it.
Any other questions? Let's save this. Now take the homework. Take the homework. Write an Apex program to fetch all position records from the object for location Hyderabad and Chennai, Bangalore. So in the position, you have a records. Records are Hyderabad, Chennai, and Bangalore. Write an Apex program to fetch all candidate records from the object. So you have a candidate object. From that, you need to pull the BTech or MTech or MCA records. Write an Apex program to fetch all case records where the priority is high and the low. Write an Apex program to fetch all the manager whose designation is HR executive and HR manager. So you have a multiple values here. You have a multiple values. So you need to implement the Apex program. To fetch all these multiple records using the in operator. So take a notes of it. You need to update the page layout. In the page layout,
No,
it is
ma'am,
visible in the
actually,
page layout. How about the field levels?
it was visible in page layout and object fields and relations. But when I want to enter new position record, in that it is not showing the location field.
Okay, so have you logged in as a system admin or is it a different user?
System admin, ma'am.
How about the permissions for the field?
Yeah, I have checked, ma'am.
Okay, so did you switch to classic and are you able to see in the classic?
No, ma'am.
Check in the classic. First switch to the classic and see whether you are able to see the location or not.
Okay.
If you are able to see the location, then there might be a delay in lightning.
Okay.
Done with the notes. Okay, is it done? Taken the notes. Okay. So now let's go ahead and see the where class, the one which we were discussing about the where class. Now where class also we have a homework. Write an Apex program to fetch all the hiring manager records based on the specified location name at runtime and represent the records on the debug log file. Second one, write an Apex program to fetch all the opportunity records based on the specified stage name and close date at runtime and represent the records on the debug log file. I think this is already I have given yesterday. Is that, am I right or I have not given this? I guess I have already given this homework yesterday. Okay, if I have not given, take a notes of it. These are the 4 assignments for the where class. Take the assignment for the where class. Done?
Ma'am, here in fourth assignment, what is the group records?
Public group. We have a public groups, right? Group is the object. If you go to the open, search for here group. So this is a group. In this group, you have a ID name, developer name, type, email. For it, you will be able to see all the group details. So from this, you need to get specified type at the runtime. So you have a different groups are there. Type is a manager, queue, regular, row. So based on the type which you are passing during the runtime, you need to get those records. Done with the taking the notes. Okay, so let's go ahead. So the questions are syntax for where class for parameterized procedure. What is the syntax for where class?
Where field name in colon
Where field name is
value.
equal to value.
Okay. Next one we'll see about the all rows class. So all rows class, when I say all rows, for example, let's take a scenario. Now I have a, let's say I have a courses details. Courses object is there. In this courses object, I'll go to the all records. Let's assume that I'm going to create a one more record in the courses, which is similar to the Salesforce. Let's clone this, clone. Let's say this is lightning. Let's say this is lightning. Click on save. Now I have a two records inside the course. I have a two records inside the course. Now if I run a SQL query, I'll get a two records. So file, open, object. Now here I'll say here course. Course is the one object. Inside the course I have a ID, name, and then only ID name is there. Now click on the query, execute it. How many records? 2 records it is pulled. Let's assume that if I delete one of the record. Delete one of the record. Deleted records, where it will be there, it will be inside the recycle bin. So inside the recycle bin, I can see there is a course record, which is a lightning. Right? Now if I refresh it, it will give me only one record. But if you want, for example, if I want to pull all the records, whether it is a deleted or not, all the records I wanted to pull. Now, in that case, what I'll do here is public static void get courses. Now here I'm going to say here list of courses. The object is the course. List of course object. Courses list. Courses list equal to select ID comma name from courses. Now I'm going to add here all rows. I'll add here all rows. If I say all rows, how many records it is going to pull? Is it going to pull 1 record or 2 records? Let's say system.debug. System.debug. Now courses list. Plus I'm going to add the courses list. Now let's save this record. Now let's say here debug. Open. Sockle in map. In sockle in map dot. We have get courses. Get courses. Select this get courses. Execute the highlighted one. Debug. So how many records? 1 record is with Salesforce, 1 record is Lightning. So all rows are basically, it is going to fetch all the records, including the deleted records. Including the deleted records, it is going to fetch the details. Now if I say here, sockle in map, name comma is deleted. Let's save this. Debug. And if I execute this, execute the highlighted one. Debug. It says Salesforce is a not deleted, but Lightning is a deleted. Lightning is deleted. This is Salesforce is deleted is a false. And Lightning is deleted is true. So all rows are going to pull whether it is a deleted or not. Every record it is going to pull. Now, all rows you cannot add it into the query editor. If I add it here, query editor, it will give me error. If I try to execute this, it is going to give me error because all rows cannot be identified by the query editor. Query editor will not recognize the all rows. All rows only works in the apex. All rows only works in the apex. So when you run, when I use the all rows, whether it is a deleted or not, all the records it is going to pull. So all rows classes, by using this class, we can fetch all the records from the object, including the deleted records. Syntax is sockle query all rows. Now the use case for this is we have already fetched all the course records, right? So this is, let's go for this one as a assignment. Assignment is write an Apex program to fetch all the account records from the object, including the deleted records. So whatever the account records are there, including the deleted records, fetch everything. Take a notes of it.
Ma'am, in real scenarios, do we really need to get the deleted records?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
I was asking, in real scenarios, do we need to really get the deleted records?
I cannot say true or false. It's all based on the scenario. If you want to know, for example, there is a batch class. Batch class, there might be a scenario it is required. We wanted to know how many records are deleted records. Or what are the deleted records are there. We need to completely work on something on that. So in that case, maybe it's if your scenario says that, then you need to pull that. But most of the times we do not use the deleted records. We never pull the deleted records.
Okay.
So next one is order by class. So order by class is basically when you are pulling the records, if you want to order by the sorting order. Now, if I go to the Salesforce, now let's say here I have a lead records. In the lead records, I have a all open leads. Now, for example, I wanted to sort by name, or I wanted to sort by company, or I wanted to sort by email. So whichever the one I wanted to sort, if I click on this, it will be sorted with the particular record, particular column. Right? So in case by using the SOQL query, if I wanted to sort it, now how can I do that? So in that case, what I'll do is from account where, instead of where, I'll use the order by, from account order by name, executed. So it is going to order by the name, account, order, alphabetical order. If you want a descending order, you need to specify the descending. If you want to specify the descending, then it will be descending order. It is going to pull the data. So same thing you can apply in the class also, order by. Order by, you need to specify it. So order by is basically how you wanted to order it, whether you want alphabetic or a descending order. Whether it is alphabetic or a descending order, it will be decided here. So order by class is, by using the class, we can arrange the result set records either ascending or descending order based on the one or more column. And the syntax is SOQL query, you need to specify order by ascending or descending. If the user did not specify any order, to arrange the records, then Salesforce will arrange the records in ascending or descending order by default. So let's take the assignments. Write an Apex program to fetch all the account records from the object and arrange the records in the ascending order based on the name column. So this is the assignments. You need to write a Apex program to fetch all the account records from the object, arrange the records in the ascending order based on the name column. Take a notes of it. Next one is a offset class. Now the offset class is, what is this offset class in the socle? Now usually this offset class is used to skip the specified number of records from the result set. Now for example, you have a 10 records in the account, right? And if you want to skip the 5 records and you wanted to print only the 5 records, then it is a, if you want to skip the 5 records, then it is going to, we have to use the offset 5. So what will happen? It will skip the 5 records. So both the limit class and offset class should be used to achieve the pagination. So usually it happens in the classic. Now if you go to the classic, let's say here switch to the classic, switch to classic. So when we have a switch to Salesforce classic, now here you have a accounts. So let's go to the account and let's say here all customers, all customers. Now we have total 50 records are there. Let's assume that I'm going to print every page. I'm going to specify the 10 records. So first it is going to show me the 10 records, and next if I click on the next button, it will show 11 to 20 records, 11 to 20 records. That means first 10 records are skipped. Usually the offset is used for the pagination in the Visualforce page. By using the Visualforce page, whenever we implement a pagination, and if you wanted to show only few records, so that time what we will do is offset will be used. And whenever we are using the offset in the socle query, along with the offset, we will use the limit class also. We will use the limit class also. So limit class and offset both will be used together. So offset class use case is, let's say the use case, write an Apex program to fetch the contact records from the object and skip the first 5 records from the result set. Now let's say here if I am querying the contact records. Let's say I'm querying the contact records. Now if I'm querying the contact records, ID, comma, first name, comma, last name, comma, email from contact. From contact. Now I'll say here, if I execute this, I have a total 43 records are there. Assume that I'm doing the order by last name. Order by last name. So I have a order by last name ascending order. Now in this case, I wanted to remove the first 5 records. So if I wanted to remove the first 5 records, what we will do is we will use the offset. Let's say I'm going to implement another method here. Public static void. Let's say get contacts. Get contacts. Now for getting the contacts, what I'll do is here list of contact con list equal to select ID comma first name comma last name comma email from contact order by last name, right? Then I'm going to specify here, give me only the 10 records. Give me only the 10 records. There are total 43 records are there. I'll just say that give me only 10 records. Out of 10 records, offset is 5. Offset is 5. Now I'm going to print the each record here for contact con equal to con list. Con list. Now here I'll say that system.debug contact list contact last name colon plus con dot last name con dot last name. Now let me print this. Now let's save this record. Let's save this class. Now the method name is get contacts debug. Now this time I'm going to use sockle in map dot method name. Method is not expecting any parameter. Method is not expecting any parameter. So I'll execute this. Execute the highlighted one. Debug. Now we have a 5. It is removed and it is printing the 10 records. Let's say here I'll just remove the limit class. I'll just remove the limit class offset 5. I'll just use the offset 5. Let's save this record. Debug and then execute the highlighted one. So how many records it is printing it? Cannot identify. So in order to identify how many records it is printing it, what will I do is, let's say here system.debug contact list size plus I'll say here con list dot size. Now let's save this class. This will give me the count. Size is nothing but total number of records. How many records? What is the size of records it is going to give me? Now let's execute this. Debug total 38 records. Out of 43 records, it is printing the 38 records and first 5 records are it is removed. I don't have a starting letter with A. Usually when I run this contact, it starts with A. Arush, Ashwini, right? It is starting with Bhaskar and Bond. Like this it is starting. But from where it is starting? It is starting from 5th, after the 5th one. So first five, it is removed the first 5 records, it is removed. It skipped the records and it is printing from boxer 12. Right, first 5 records. So for example, this is to identify the size of the record. But let's assume that from the query editor, you wanted to find the count. You want to find the count of the records. Now this is size is, it is giving me the size. Let's assume that I do not need the fields at all. I just need a size. I just need a size of or count of the records. I do not want to print these values at all. I do not want to print the values at all. Or even here also, I do not want to print the values. So if I wanted to know the count of the records, so what we will do here, count of inside this, I can use the ID. So if I execute this, it will give me the count 43. There are 43 records are there. It is ID counting it. So in case if you do not want the ID count, just the count you need it will just give you the 43. So before it was saying that ID 43. Now here it is total rows are 43. Total rows are 43. Total rows are 43. Now if you want the count of the records, use the count keyword here. Similarly, in the Apex class also, if you want the count keyword, let's say I'm going to implement another method here. Public static void, let's say here get record count. Get record count. So in this, I'm going to show both static and dynamic. Static SQL query and dynamic SQL query. Dynamic SQL query. Integer, let's say here I'm going to say, I'm just going to get the count. Why I'm saying the integer? Because when I execute this, I'll just get the number. I'll not get the records. I'll not get the records. I'll get the just a number. So I'll store the record count equal to select count from, let's say, contact. Right? The output of this query is number. So it will store it inside the record count. Now let's go ahead and print this static SQL query output. System.debug. Let's say lead record count. I'm going to print the record count. This is for the static. If it is a dynamic, I'll store the query inside the string. String, let's say here contact count equal to select count from contact. This is the query I'm pasting inside the string. This is the query I'm pasting inside the query. Now let's say here the output of the query is integer. Integer, let's say contact count equal to database dot. Ideally, we will use the database dot query and we will pass the query. Right, we will pass the query and then I'm going to print the system.debug. This is the static record count. Static record count. And here it is dynamic record count. Now, what is the error it is giving right now? We have written perfectly fine. Database query contact count. But the query, the return type of the query is not an integer. Return type of the query is number, list of the records it is going to print. List of the record it is going to pull. But I just need the count. When we just need the count, in this database class, we need to use another method, not the query method. not the query method. We need to use another method which is called database dot count query. Database dot count query. Database dot count query, we have to use it because we are using the count of query. We are using the count of query. When you are pulling the list of the records, when you are pulling the list of the records, that time we need to use the database dot query. But here, this query is just going to give you the count. Just going to give you the count. So we need to use the count query. Count query. So in the database class, we have a method which is called as a count query. Which is a method we have is count query. Now in this count query, now we are going to provide the contact count. Contact count. Right? So this is how we are going to query the data. This is how we are going to query the data. Now if I execute this, get record count, debug, open, let's say socle in map dot, I'm going to use the method which is called as a get record count. Get record count. Get record count. If I try to execute this, now I have a static count and the dynamic count, both are 43. Both are 43. Take the homework. Write an Apex program to fetch all the lead records and arrange them in the descending order based on the annual revenue. Based on the annual revenue, arrange it. Write an Apex program to fetch top 5 highest annual revenue account from the object. Write an Apex program to fetch top 5 highest annual revenue account from the object. Write an Apex program to skip first 10 records of the lead order by company. Delete the 2 position records and write an Apex program to fetch all the position records from the object, including the deleted records. And the next one is write an Apex program to fetch the opportunity records from the object and skip the first 5 records from the result set. Skip the first 5 records from the result set. Take your notes of it. Done, taken the notes. that will come in the Visual Force page. And that is not the Apex, right? That is the Visual Force. We will explain that in the Visual Force. Next we'll see is per update class. Per update classes, for example, we have an account object. In the account object, we have a different columns we have. Name, rating, annual revenue, right? So we have this ID, name, rating, annual revenue is available. Now in this column, we have a different records are there. So there is a ID, name, rating, annual revenue, 4,50,000, right? Now some 45 lakhs we have it, and similarly we have a second record. Now 50,000, and similarly we have a third record is there. So these are the data which is available inside the account object. Now there is sometimes it is possible that there are two users. Possible that two developers are working on a same concept. Two developers are working on a same object. I wanted to see user 1 and user 2 both are working on the same object. Possible that user 1 is updating the second record. Same time user 2 is also deleting the record of second. User 1 is updating the second record and user 2 is also deleting the record. But they are doing it both parallelly. They will go with both parallelly. Now, when this happens parallelly, that means already one user is updating the record. At the same time, another user is deleting it. This kind of a scenario is called as a deadlock situation. This kind of a scenario is called deadlock situation. That means at the same time, everything is the same. At the same time, when the multiple users are working on the same record is called as a deadlock situation. Now, how can we handle this deadlock situation? Now, in order to handle this, we need to process this synchronously. We need to process the record synchronously by using the locking mechanism. Now, how do we do the locking mechanism? Now, for update or for delete, we definitely have a query the data from database. When somebody is working on that record, and if we are trying to pull that record to delete, the another user is trying to delete that record. In that case, what we will do is we will use the per update class. So by using this class, we can apply the lock on the records. Now, if when the user 1 is performing it, he can lock the record. How can he lock it? By using the per update. So lock on the record. Once the transaction has been completed, the lock will release automatically. The syntax for per update is SOQL query per update. So example is list of the accounts list equal to select ID, name, rating, industry from account per update. Per update, we have to use it. When you use the per update, that means you are locking on that particular record. Nobody should be touching that or updating it until unless your process is completed. So in real time, mostly we will use it for the asynchronous. Whenever there is a backend logic that gets executed and at the same time user is trying to perform something on the object level, right? In that case, if we do not want until unless the backend process is completed, user should not be updating the record. In those scenarios, what we will do is in the backend logic, we will write the per update. Right? If you write a per update, it will be logged automatically. Now, right now it is a fraction of second. If we try to test it also, you cannot see logged record. You cannot see logged record. There is some transaction which is running at the back end for almost more than a minute. And at the same time, if user is trying to update it, then in those scenarios, you will see this kind of a deadlock situations. And it is very rare, it happens in the real time also, but for safe purpose, what we will do is we will use the per update wherever we are writing the software query. That's all for today. And I'll bring you the trial head links.